The day my substitute mistook my life support for a cheat code. Read with a conversational, slightly storytime tone. Pace yourself for the natural pauses. Man. High school is already a nightmare, but some teachers really just take it to a whole other level. So, back in junior year, I had the substitute teacher, Mr. Miller, who was basically the Sherlock Holmes of catching cheaters, but like, the bad kind. The kind that thinks every sneeze is a coded signal. Now, you gotta know, I'm a type 1 diabetic. I wear this high-tech continuous glucose monitor, or a CGM, on the back of my arm. It's basically a little white plastic pod that talks to my phone so I don't, pass out during second period. It was midterms week. The classroom was silent, like, you can hear a pin drop silent. I'm halfway through a page of stoichiometry, which is already torture, when I feel this presence looming over my shoulder. I don't even look up. I just keep writing. Then, out of nowhere, I feel the sharp tug on my sleeve. Mr. Miller had grabbed my arm, and he's staring at the pod on my tricep with this gotcha look on his face. He whispers, and I kid you not. Hand over the Bluetooth receiver, kid. I know a hidden earbud when I see one. I was so stunned. I literally couldn't speak. I just blinked at him. He didn't wait for an answer. He reached for the pod, and tried to peel it off my skin. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, those things are held on with medical-grade adhesive. It's basically superglue for your body. I let out a yelp because, OW, and the whole class just freezes. He's pulling. I'm recoiling, and he's hissing at me to stop resisting. Finally, I managed to gasp out. It's a medical device. It's literally attached to my body. He stops. He looks at the pod, then at my face, then back at the pod. The realization hit him like a freight train. His face went from strict investigator to I'm about to be sued into oblivion in 0.5 seconds. He turned, ghostly white. The best part? Because he'd partially ripped the sensor out, my phone started screaming. This high-pitched, piercing critical failure alarm that sounded like a nuclear meltdown was happening in my pocket. The principal had to come down. My mom had to come in. There were so many incident reports. Long story short, I got an automatic A on that midterm, and Mr. Miller was highly encouraged to never sub at our district again. Now, whenever I walk into a classroom with a new teacher, I just point to my arm and say, hey, just so you know, this isn't a radio, it's just my pancreas. They usually don't ask any more questions after that. The principal's office meltdown and the golden ticket. Use a slightly more spill the tea energy, like you're sharing a secret with a friend. So, after the whole sensor-ripping incident with Mr. Miller, things got way more intense than I expected. I thought I'd just get a bandage and a sorry, but nope, high school drama never sleeps. While I was sitting in the nurse's office, holding a cold compress to my arm, I could hear my mom's voice echoing through the hallway. Now, my mom is usually the sweetest person, but you mess with her kid's medical gear? She becomes a force of nature. She marched into the principal's office, and let me tell you, the walls in that school were thin. I heard Mr. Miller trying to explain himself. He kept saying, I thought it was a new type of cheating device, they look so high-tech these days. My mom just snapped back. It's a life-saving device, Gary. It's not a TI-84 calculator. The principal, Mr. Henderson, was in full damage control mode. He knew that if this went to the school board, or worse, a lawyer, the school was in deep trouble for a physical confrontation with a student. About 20 minutes later, the door opens. Mr. Miller walks out, looking like he'd just seen a ghost. He didn't even look at me. He just grabbed his bag and walked straight out the front doors of the school. Then, the principal calls me in. He sits me down, looks me dead in the eye, and pushes a piece of paper across the desk. It was a permanent hall pass. He tells me, Leo, from now on, if your sensor beeps, if you feel low, or if you just need a minute to breathe, you don't even have to ask. You just get up and go. But the real kicker? Word spread through the school like wildfire. By the next day, I was basically a legend. The kid who retired the most hated sub in the district. The best part was in gym class. My new gym teacher, who used to be a total drill sergeant, saw me checking my levels on my phone. Usually, he'd scream about no phones on the court. This time, he just stopped, gave me a thumbs up, and asked if I needed a Gatorade. I guess having a bionic arm has its perks. I still have a tiny scar where the sensor got yanked, but honestly, every time I see it, I just think about the look on Mr. Miller's face, and it makes the whole thing totally worth it. The copycat, the principal, and the ultimate karma. Read with a bit of a "can you believe this guy" attitude. Use a smirk in your voice. So, just when I thought the drama was over, high school found a way to get even weirder. About a week after the bionic arm incident, I'm sitting in the back of English class, and I notice this kid, Tyler, who's basically the king of low-effort schemes, staring at me. The next day, Tyler walks into class with a huge, white, plastic something taped to his shoulder. It looked like he'd literally hot-glued a garage door opener to his arm. He's walking around, holding his shoulder all dramatically, trying to catch the teacher's eye. Finally, our teacher, Mrs. Bennett, stops her lecture. She looks at Tyler and goes, Tyler, what on earth is on your arm? Tyler sighs, real heavy, and says, oh, this? It's my, bioregulator. My blood pressure is, like, super high. I might need a permanent hall pass too, for the stress. The whole class goes silent. I'm sitting there, looking at my actual medical device, then looking at Tyler's garage door opener, and I am losing it. Mrs. Bennett isn't an idiot. She crosses her arms and says, "A bioregulator? That's interesting. Does it come with a doctor's note, or did it come with a 2-year warranty from Best Buy?" The class starts snickering. Tyler turns bright red. "No, it's legit. It's very sensitive. If I get stressed, it might, explode." Right at that moment, the principal, Mr. Henderson, walks in for a random observation. He sees Tyler's device, and then he looks at me. I just give him a "don't look at me" shrug. Mr. Henderson walks over to Tyler, looks at the duct tape holding the plastic box to his arm, and says, "Tyler, if that's a medical device, we need to call the paramedics right now to calibrate it. In fact, I'll call your mom too, just to be safe." Tyler's face went from red to white to a weird shade of gray. He immediately started peeling the tape off, wincing as it ripped his arm hair. "Actually, I think I'm, cured. It was a miracle. I'm all good now." He spent the rest of the day in detention for impersonating a medical condition, and let's just say, his bioregulator ended up in the trash can in the main office. I guess the moral of the story is, if you're gonna try to scam your way into a permanent hall pass, maybe don't use something that looks like it belongs in a tool shed. Karma is real, and in high school, it's usually pretty hilarious. The reunion, the new sub, and the bionic legacy. With a full circle feeling. A bit of nostalgia, mixed with that classic satisfaction of a plan coming together. So, fast forward to senior year. I'm finally a big man on campus, and the legend of the teacher retiring arm has basically become school folklore. I'm sitting in my advanced bio class, minding my own business, when the door opens. And who walks in? A brand new substitute. Everyone, and I mean everyone, stops talking. We all have that collective trauma from the Mr. Miller era. This new guy, Mr. Davis, looks like he's fresh out of college. He's got that "I'm going to change the world" energy, but he's also clearly terrified of 30 seniors. He's doing the roll call, and then he starts the "no phones, no gadgets" speech. He's being real intense about it, pacing back and forth, talking about academic integrity and digital distractions. I can feel the whole class slowly turning their heads to look at me. It's like a movie scene. Mr. Davis notices. He stops mid-sentence, looks at me, and his eyes lock onto my arm. I'm wearing a sleeveless hoodie, so the sensor is right there, loud and proud. He walks over, real slow. The air in the room just vanishes. I'm thinking, here we go again. Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. He leans in, points at the pod. And I'm ready to give him the whole medical device speech. I've got it practiced down to a science. But before I can say a word, Mr. Davis pulls up his own sleeve. On the back of his arm is the exact same sensor. He gives me this little secret handshake nod and says, "Hey, is that the G6 or the G7? I've been thinking about upgrading." The entire class let out a breath I didn't even know they were holding. Some kid in the back actually started clapping. Mr. Davis just laughed and said, "Don't worry guys. I know what a pancreas looks like. Leo, if that thing beeps, you do what you gotta do. Everyone else? Put your actual phones away or I'm calling your moms." It was the first time in 4 years I didn't feel like a science experiment in front of a teacher. And the best part? Tyler, the bioregulator kid, was in that class. He just sat there, staring at both of us, looking totally defeated. I guess sometimes, the universe actually gives you a break. No drama, no principal's office, just 2 bionic guys. Trying to survive advanced biology, the graduation prank and the final beep. A grand finale energy. A mix of triumph and that bittersweet feeling of leaving high school forever. So, it was finally it. Graduation day. The entire gym was packed. The air smelled like cheap floor wax and expensive perfume, and everyone was sweating bullets in those polyester robes. I'm standing in line with 300 other seniors, and who do I see sitting in the front row of the honored guest section? Mr. Henderson, the principal, and right next to him, Mr. Davis, the diabetic sub who actually became our full-time bio teacher. Now, our class had a reputation for being, let's just say, creative with senior pranks. But I wanted to do something personal. As I'm walking up the ramp to get my diploma, my heart is pounding. My phone vibrates in my pocket. My blood sugar was actually a little high because of the nerves, and I knew, any second now, my sensor was gonna let out that signature beep. I reach the center of the stage. Mr. Henderson holds out my diploma. The crowd goes quiet, waiting for my name to be read. Right at that exact moment, I reached into my pocket and hit the test alarm on my app. Beep. The sound echoed through the entire gymnasium. Half the teachers jumped. Mr. Henderson's eyes went wide, his hand instinctively went to his chest, probably having a flashback to the Mr. Miller lawsuit days. I didn't move. I just looked him dead in the eye, leaned into the microphone, and whispered, "Don't worry, sir, it's just my pancreas saying goodbye." The front row of teachers, led by Mr. Davis, absolutely burst out laughing. Mr. Henderson realized I was messing with him, shook his head, and actually gave me a high five instead of a handshake. But here's the real kicker. As I walked off the stage, I passed the junior section. And sitting there, looking all smug, was a kid I didn't recognize, wearing a very familiar-looking plastic box taped to his wrist. I stopped, looked at him, and pointed to my arm. I whispered, "The bioregulator trick only works if you don't use duct tape, kid. Use medical tape, it's more convincing." I winked at him and kept walking. I left that school with a diploma in one hand, a bionic arm, and the satisfaction of knowing I'd passed the torch of medical mystery to the next generation. High school was a ride, but honestly, I wouldn't change a single beep.
Getting more like this video, please like, share or subscribe my channel. Love you all. See you in next video.